Hey guys, this is the Digital Citizen here for another OOP video. So today we're going to discuss the class components. From the previous part of this video, we got familiar with the difference of classes and objects. So the classes are descriptions and objects are implementations. So what do we exactly mean by saying description? What do we describe in a class? Let's get back to our previous example with a designer and a t-shirt. Let's assume we want to describe the t-shirt. So how can we describe it? It can have a size, color, material, and so on. Good. So now we know the parameters that we use to describe our t-shirt. But how else can we describe it? Surely the t-shirt, except for the parameters, has some behavior. It can be washed, it can be worn, it can be, I don't know, thrown away, and so on. Anyway, so with the last two examples, we understood that the t-shirt can have some parameters and some behavior. Well, that's it. We reached our today's goal. So the two main components of classes are the state and the behavior. Now the state describes, like literally describes, in which state the current object of a class is, and the behavior describes the object's behavior in certain circumstances. So now in this case we have the state to be the size, color, material, and the behavior to be that it can be washed and it can be worn. So if we go further, we can see that we can define our parameters to be of the mentioned types. I added another parameter here to show an example that the class parameters can be not only strings but can be booleans also. So if we describe it, the size can be a string, the color can be a string, the material can be a string, and let's assume we have another parameter here like has a t-shirt and illustration, and it is a boolean. If it has, it's going to be true, and if it doesn't, it will be false. And the behavior, it can be washed. In this case we have the function void wash. It can be worn, and boolean is illustrated. So the basic components of the classes we understood are the state and the behavior. So the state, it can be defined by different synonyms of the word. Some people say state, some people say parameters, some people say fields, and some people say member variables. And the behavior in like C++, C, and other object-oriented languages, we say functions. In Java, we say methods, and in some other languages like TCL and other ones, we say procedures. So they are all the same. The parameters are the same as the fields and are the same as the member variables and the state. And the functions are the same as the methods and the same as the procedures and the same as the behavior. So now let's talk about a different example. Let's assume we have a tree. So what can we tell about its state and the behavior? We can say that a tree has a height. It can be represented as an integer. It has a width. It also can be represented as an integer, and it can be a type string like apple tree or something else. And the behavior, like produce oxygen or produce apples. So what about the difference between an object and a class? There is another great example in here. So in the class, we do not have these variables defined. So in the class, when we describe it, we don't have these variables to have values. But when an object is created from a class, then all of its variables get values automatically or manually. So if we instantiate an object from this class and do not set initial values to these state variables, the all variables are gonna have their default values. So default values for integers are 0, and for the strings are null, because the string is a reference type in Java. But these topics are gonna be discussed later in my videos. So this is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the subscribe button if you want me to create more of these kind of videos. See you later.